This thing right here is the most important factor for success with sync licensing. I know that seems like a huge, ridiculous sales pitch for this video. I'm 100% honest about that. I definitely feel that if you could master this, you could really thrive with sync licensing. Outcome independence is a concept that I did not know existed when I got started with sync licensing, but I had been coincidentally following with this philosophical mindset approach to sync licensing all the way back in 2008. And every time I meet and run into many successful sync licensing producers, including some of the many talented producers you guys have seen on this very channel, this keeps coming back. This is absolutely a consistent pattern and theme, regardless of their talent level, the genre they produce, the libraries that they produce. This mindset is always present with everybody who really does well with sync licensing. So ignore this video at your own peril. This is definitely one of those videos that can make a big difference for you in terms of helping you understand what it really will take to go the distance in this industry, wherever your destination happens to be. So what is outcome independence and why is this something that I'm talking about? I am not a life coach. I know this is going to be a video that taps into some life coachy stuff. Sorry about that. We are going to definitely tie it at the end into specifically how we use this concept for sync licensing, okay? I'm definitely not becoming a life coach here. What it basically means is you just are no longer emotionally attached to any specific outcome. Now we're going to focus on sync licensing in this video, but it can and should be applied to everything in life. Your businesses, your relationships, your job, your friendships, your social engagements. The minute we start playing a game of, I really, really need this thing to happen. I need that job offer. I need that promotion. I need to be responded to. I need to get accepted by a library, whatever it is. The minute that we're tying up our emotions into an outcome, it's a very dangerous game to be playing. As many of you have already figured that out, I have in my life many times, you can get burned with that, right? And then you can feel rejected and your ego can be bruised. And sometimes it's really hard to recover from that. And successful sync licensing producers figure out real quickly that's not a game to be playing in this industry at all. Secondly, it means that your outcomes really don't define you or your success. Whether you get accepted by a library this year or you don't, doesn't make you a failure, or if you do get accepted, that doesn't make you a success. You actually don't really measure yourself as a failure or a successful person at all. You kind of get out of this win-lose frame entirely, and none of your outcomes really matter that much, actually. Now, I know it seems crazy to say that, and it seems counterintuitive. You need to see some sort of results with all the work you're putting into your career. And that's what's really tricky about this is, of course, I did too. I wanted to see results, and I know you do as well. But when you get too tied up in that desire, in that needing to see an outcome, and you get emotionally invested in that, I'll tell you some stories in my career later on, it's basically the reason why you can feel like giving up really, really quickly in this business. It's one of the main reasons, psychological reasons, why most producers do give up, because their expectations are way up high, or they have so much attachment to some sort of outcome, and they don't get the particular outcome they wanted, and they feel like they're a failure, this industry is a scam, nobody's giving me a deal, et cetera, and resentment and bitterness creep in really, really quickly, okay? Not a good place to be. I kind of call this going into Buddha mode in a way, where you're just kind of thinking in your head, everything's cool, man. Yeah, I get accepted, cool. Don't get accepted, cool. Get the placement, cool. Don't get the placement, whatever. Get a theme placement, don't get the theme placement. I was just in this situation a few months back, and I definitely was failing on this multiple times. I was sharing some of those videos with you guys where we'll talk about this is not a one-time decision you make. It's a constant reminder. It's a constant process. You have to go back into this kind of like rising above the noise, rising above the emotional entanglements that we get into in this industry and going, whatever. It happens. It doesn't happen. I get it. I don't get it. Either way, I'm just going to keep moving forward with this, okay? As you could probably tell already, all of this is way easier said than done. It's so easy to put together a presentation like this for me to just talk on a camera, on a video, telling you that this is a really great idea. To actually put this into practice, to actually do the heavy lifting mentally, psychologically to get to this place and to continuously remind ourselves to get back to this place, I fall short of this all the time. So I don't think this is one of these things where you're going to get it right the first time. And just because you watch this video, everything's solved for you. That is not at all what I'm doing right now. That is not going to work out for you if you feel it's going to be that easy. Because as I said before, this is a constant process. This is going to be something you constantly are having to practice and remind yourself of. It's not a one-time decision, even though you can say, oh, outcome independence. It kind of doesn't mean anything until you go through some emotional entanglements and you actually get let down, or you even feel yourself getting really excited about an opportunity, like the upsides, the real potential lucrative opportunities that you can see in this business, and getting so excited and hung up on them and feeling yourself getting amped up on that excitement, catching yourself in that moment of going, ooh, yeah, I'm getting tangled up in this. I'm getting really attached to the outcome here. And I'm maybe putting too much on the line in terms of I'm expecting this to work out. And if it doesn't, I'm going to feel a lot of disappointment and really let down. That is definitely the psychological black hole, the pit that most producers and composers fall into, which has them dusting off their hands, throwing in the towel, and walking away from this business entirely. And I totally understand, because I've been wanting to do that so many times in my career, because I've made this mistake 1,000 times over and over again, okay? So let's now relate all of that big stuff into specifically what do you do with this when it comes to TV, film, sync licensing, working with production music libraries. That's basically all we really focus and talk about here on this channel. Number one, focus only on what you can control, okay? Can you control whether or not a library accepts your music? Mm-mm. Can you control after you get accepted by them whether or not you get placements right away or ever? Nope. Can you control whether or not a production company who uses your tracks into a TV show turns in your cue sheet and accurately does that on time so that you get paid on time? Nope, got to throw that one away. Can you guarantee that the international PROs that are responsible for collecting your royalties in other territories are going to give you the accurate reporting on time every time? Forget it, definitely not. Most of this business beyond your home DAW is out of your control. It's out of my control. You don't get to control which clients use your music. You don't get to say yes or no usually, unless it's a custom opportunity. You can just not pitch if you don't want to. But if you're working with a production music library, if they've got a client, they're going to have access to essentially your music. So getting wrapped up and frustrated and consumed by all of these other things in life and in our industry that we cannot control will just drain you. That's all they're going to do. You're basically fighting battles with demons that you can't see and you have no power over. Okay, so it's a losing battle. It's a game you don't want to play. You'll see that kind of theme here throughout this video. Playing games that you cannot win or you have a chance of losing is a really, really bad idea. You should only be playing games that you can win 100% of the time. That has been the approach that's really been helpful for me and many others. So what can you control? Well, your DAW, right? Your samples that you use, the keyboard, the fingers that you're using to create your music, your ears, the speakers, getting feedback from people that you trust, improving your mixing and mastering skills, using reference tracks, studying from those that have come before you and done really, really well, understanding how do you make sure that your tracks are structured correctly, properly, all of those things, right? We talk about that stuff ad nauseum here on this channel. And of course, that's the entire point of Sync Academy, is to get you guys up to speed as fast as possible with current production and professional standards in this industry. So focus on what you can do, which is usually every single day, whatever track you're working on right now. That's pretty much it. Just doing that. Okay. Another way to think about this is just do your best, let go of the rest. Okay. If you can do something to control the quality, the output, the metadata, the stems, the presentation on your website, if you can do something to adjust those variables, adjust the hell out of them, right? Do anything you can to control those variables to create the best professional and most marketable and licensable approach to this business. Doing your research to work and partner with the best reputable libraries that you possibly can, and just focus on creating high quality relationships and communication and music with those high quality partners, and let the rest of it go, because pretty much the rest of it is none of our business. Nothing else is really anything that we should even be worried about or concerned about. Again, easier said than done. I have definitely missed out on royalties. I've missed out on payments. I have had libraries ghost me. I've had issues with PROs, you name it. I've had all of those issues. Okay. So getting wrapped up in those things, though, always is an energy drain. This is something that I definitely heard from Anthony of Anthony Crawford, who was at our recent Sync Up event, who I also bring back on this channel very soon. He is somebody who went from $250 on his quarterly BMI check to nearly $10,000 on a quarterly BMI check within about a year and a half, which is unlikely and not something that I would expect any of you guys to duplicate. It's a very, very tricky thing and very, very amazing result that he's gotten. But still, it does show that there are possible amazing things in this business. And what he said at that, and I'm really basically taking this from him, is he said once he sends off his tracks to his library, he trusts that they're going to do what they're supposed to do. You know, he's working with them. He's done his research. He knows that they're legitimate players in the business. And he gave them 5 tracks, 10 tracks, whatever he gave them, ships it off to them, gives them their deliverables. They say, thank you so much, Anthony. We appreciate it. And he goes, all right, well, that's on you now. Let's see what you can do. But honestly, I'm kind of just forgetting about it. And that's what he said, literally. He said, I forget about those tracks. And I literally wipe the slate in my memory. And I'm moving on to what's happening this week. I remember doing the same thing mentally after being burned so many times, getting so excited and thinking, oh, well, maybe this is the album that's going to blow up, or, you know, submitting to a big custom commercial or something like that, thinking, well, if I get this one, boy, is that one going to really pay off? And then I'm going to finally be, you know, making the big bucks kind of a thing. And when they didn't happen and when I didn't get the placements or the custom opportunities, I felt that letdown because I got tied up in that and I wasn't focusing on constantly marching forward. Okay, so it is a mindset. It's a decision. It's not an easy one to make, but it is a decision you can make. The 80-20 rule of success is definitely in place with Sync Licensing, meaning probably about 20% of the tracks that you put into this industry will do about 80% of the lifting for your income. That's definitely what it's been like in my career. I don't have the specific numbers, but I can see my royalty checks and statements. It's usually the usual suspects. It's the usual, very familiar track titles that come in every single quarter that get placed. You know, some music editor or some supervisor found them, and literally, you're probably just a video editor, honestly, found some of my tracks, and they're just on a short list somewhere, and I just constantly get placements over and over and over and over and over again with a few number of tracks that I put into this industry. Now, did I know which approximate 20% of my catalog was going to do the heavy lifting? Nope. And I can tell you for sure that 20% of my tracks that are doing that for me are not my best tracks in terms of what I would judge as the highest quality tracks that I've given this industry. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them are average and maybe even a little below average. And many of them were the tracks that I submitted way early in my career when I just was at a different point of my, you know, phase of evolution of my quality of production. I've definitely improved over the years. So we don't get to control any of that. We have no idea what people are going to like, respond to, put on a short list, and get placements over and over and over again. So again, let's let go of that. Let's not worry about it, and let's accept the fact that 80% of our tracks might not get a lot of placements. Maybe 50% of our tracks might not get any placements at all. That's not uncommon in this business. I would definitely say at least 50% of my tracks probably have not been placed at all in this business. Now you would say, well, wow, that's a failure rate. You should have never gotten started with that. Boy, you should never, you know, get involved in the industry where 50% of your work is never even being sort of used, right? You know, that's one way to phrase it. That's one way to, you know, frame it and perceive it. The way that I see it is like, that's out of my control. I really don't know. All those tracks are still in catalogs out there. They could still potentially get new placements, and I still once in a while see new placements from old tracks that I have. So that's a benefit of this business that could certainly happen in my near future. So just expect that not every track, not every album, not every project you're ever going to do and throw out into this industry is going to take off and blow up and explode for you. If you have that kind of healthy expectation going in, then you won't get so attached to any particular album or any particular track, right? This is what I think, and I think I'm going to leave you guys with this one. Treat it like it's a 401k investment plan. If you have had a 401k investment plan in your life, essentially all you're doing is on a monthly basis, you're throwing a little money at this retirement account. Now, are you throwing in your, let's say it's $500 a month. At the end of the month, are you expecting to become a millionaire because you threw in $500 this month? No, like nobody in their right mind is expecting these crazy, ridiculous, awesome results overnight. And we all realize if we're doing a sort of continuous investment plan, it doesn't have to be a 401k, but this is one of the most common ones, that you know what you're doing is you're just kind of putting just a little bit away every single month automatically. You're doing it before you even maybe put it in your bank account just to make sure you don't blow it, you don't spend it. And you know that if you've run an investment interest calculator, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, $500 a month turns into hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars over the course of the lifespan of, an average functioning market, which is what we've seen, obviously, in our lives. Okay, none of this is investment advice. Make sure you guys are clear on that. But when you look at your music career, your sync licensing career, the same way, like the Anthony situation where he's just every week, 2 to 5 tracks, boop, dropping them off, dropping them off, dropping them off, dropping them off, dropping them off. He's not thinking any particular week, that's the week that he's going to blow up and make 6 figures instantly. He probably never had that expectation in his mind. He just said, I'm going to focus on what I can control. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to drop off these tracks with the companies that I have great relationships with, and then send it and forget it. It's over. It's on them. Hopefully it does well. But if it doesn't, it's not going to affect the fact that I'm going to keep staying productive. I'm going to keep making more music. I'm going to focus on what I'm going to start doing today or this week. Okay. So you kind of have this healthier idea of this is a long-term plan. This is a long-term investment. And this is something that you need to, again, release the expectations that quick results or quick things are going to happen to you. I'm just telling you, over the course of my year, I'll leave you this as one story. Many years ago, I got a call from a library owner that I had received a nationwide Jack in the Box commercial. And it was my first national commercial. I had never had a commercial before. And I was just like, wow, this is amazing and crazy. And so, of course, my head and the imagination I have just starts spinning. And it's like, how much am I going to make from a national campaign with my music in it? Is it, tens of thousands of dollars? It's got to be at least $50,000, hundreds of thousands. I mean, are we talking, am I going to be a millionaire, come this time next year? And so my failure to have outcome independence really shone through right there. And the greed kicked in immediately. And I got super hooked and excited and thinking, ooh, this is going to be the big thing. And, I'd been kind of slowly building my royalties, but nothing had really popped yet. So I hadn't felt like I'd really gone to that next level of like, wow, okay, this is definitely full-time income. And so, time goes on. I think it had been about a year or so. And I see my first couple of royalties come in and I'm just like, okay, this next one, if you guys have your royalty checks coming in, that the night before that royalty, that direct deposit comes in, it is a stomach twister because it's like, this is either going to be the best day, I'm going to be so excited, or I'm going to want to throw my computer into the trash because it's going to be another disappointing or lackluster statement, right? So I get the statement and I find out that after all that waiting, all that hype and all that excitement, I made hundreds of dollars, not even thousands. And granted, it was just the first quarter. The commercial ended up running, I think, about 6 months. So I did get some extra royalties the next quarter. It might have totaled $1,000. This is a national Jack in the Box campaign. Okay. So you can imagine my disappointment thinking that placement was the thing that was going to buy me a house. I mean, that's literally where my head was at in that moment. Okay. It didn't do anything close to that. And of course, that was one of those royalty checks where I really was like, this might be it for me. Because if I can get a national campaign and literally barely pay my monthly bills with it, this is just a BS industry. And there's really nothing here for me. And I shouldn't be even getting excited about anything here. It's all nonsense. I hate this. I want to quit. And that actually might have been, I'm realizing just as I'm saying this right now to you guys on camera, that might have been the moment where I really was struggling and thinking about giving up on this business full-heartedly. I don't think I did right then, but that was probably the beginning of a really tough time for me, about a year and a half, where wasn't excited about this industry at all. And I guess the lesson learned after all of that is that had I not had those high expectations, not thought that was going to be this make or break moment for me, that one gig or that one placement was going to be the thing that that could definitely take me to that next level. If I didn't have this higher, larger than life expectation, I don't think I would have had as much of a crash or a letdown when those royalties came in. If I had just said, all right, cool, hey, we'll see what happens with it. It might be a lot, might be a little bit, but again, all that's out of my control. Can't really do much about that. So what am I going to work on this week? And just keep marching forward. So I'm giving you this advice because I have failed this many times, and it is what caused me to nearly give up entirely on this industry. So hopefully this was useful, insightful, relevant for you. If you have any further questions about the concept of outcome independence or how you can relate it to your career, or if you're struggling with this right now, this is the time for you to comment. Let me know. I'd love to help out any possible way that I can. So hopefully this is useful for you guys. Thank you so much for watching.